June 24th. I'd like to begin with Florence, and I'd like to make a motion that we approve payroll number 116 for $1,885.96. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to move that we approve accounts payable number 117 for $13,320.71. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'd like to move that we approve the minutes for June 17th, 2024 select board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So let's sign that push. Initial that. Yeah. And let's move on to citizens issues. First issue, it's not an issue in a bad sense, but I was contacted and then Jeff was contacted as well. Somebody who's interested in buying at least one replacement flag for us. If you've looked at the flags lately, they're a little tattered. And so I was willing to do to at least buy one of the flags, and I wanted to bring that to the full board because we'd have to also figure out who's going to put it up and when it'll be bought. And probably we need 4 new ones, nope.
No,
We already
You
have
just
one?
did the town hall recently.
yeah, we're just in town hall.
So
The
we need
fire department's fine. This is
Okay,
fine.
so we just-
We needed that one.
just one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the nice thing is that he's going to pay for the replacement.
Which
So-
one is it?
The
The
one
north end,
Um,
top of the
north end.
island.
Yeah, he was saying every time he comes over the bridge, he sees it and
Sad when they get beat up.
yeah, yeah. So, did you want to add anything since you said?
Well, I think the real issue is that we don't
Yeah.
have any regular responsibility for maintaining flags. And that hits when we have a natural action about raising, lowering the flag to have staff. So when we're commemorating somebody or it's Pearl Harbor Day, who does that? We don't have anybody doing that. So I've been doing it in the past. It's been myself or Julie Jason or Bill Cooney. But we asked for, hopefully maybe some like a Boy Scout back in the old days.
We're gonna say, good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
But so that is the, I think the real issue is we don't really have anybody named Matt.
Are they all reasonably accessible?
The one on the north end is the hardest one. Because you're actually really probably, unless you're tall, you really need to step on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you're tall, so we still take care of it, huh?
That's why it's been relatively, and I've been able to get our volunteer of the year. Jason
He's pretty tall.
has stood in for me to take care of the north end one from time to time.
Yeah, definitely Julie cannot do that with our step ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Evan's on, did you see that?
Huh?
Did you see Evan was on?
Sign up.
Yeah, I know you can, attendance. All right, so I'd like to move that we accept Bob Kennedy's offer to replace the flag. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
All right,
All right. So are you gonna talk to him or I'm?
I've already talked to him.
Okay, but I.
I check. Well, we can call him, but
Okay,
he should be sending a check in there, so.
but I had told him I would call him after the meeting, but I will, I'll contact him anyway and let him know that. I'm glad that he talked to you and that he's sending the check. Great. All right, the second item on, for citizens issues is, Trudy Metzger, who's been here forever. Has a son who, is actually well-known internationally. He worked for NASA and, has done a ton of stuff with NASA and NASA. NASA. We always want to say NASA. I think that's a southern thing. Anyway, he has presented quite a few times a presentation on moving civilization to outer space. He has done this for kids, he's done it for adults, he's done it for a whole bunch of different groups, and he's coming the first couple of weeks from August and had come to the town office to see whether it would be okay if he did a presentation. And, you know, Dee Dee and I had talked about like who would host it or whatever else. It doesn't really feel like a WCA thing. And I know that the board has hosted other things in the past, like with oh yeah, there was something about trees and the brown-tailed moth or whatever. So I wanted to actually have a discussion with you, and it's great that, you know, I know you're a retired engineer. If somebody that famous is here and wants to do a presentation, you know, she's willing to do the refreshments and whatnot, but wants to know whether she could do her son could do a presentation on moving civilization to outer space.
That's cool. Town hall,
Mhm.
there's some other stuff going on in August, shoreline, so we can work around that, but I really neat.
Yeah, I think she'd asked WCA and they said that they were already had the full agenda. It doesn't really feel quite like a WCA thing, but
I guess, actually, the friends, Westmoreland history, and we said, well, this isn't really that historical.
yeah,
And it's not that much about Westport.
Yes.
Hard to hear.
Now it'll be a story.
Well, good.
We have to space out and just do it.
Yeah, no, she could just do it. Yeah, I think actually Trudy's been asking for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And so this would be great, give it a chance. I think it's, just
It's
do
not
it.
bad.
Yeah.
They do these things in
Yeah.
theaters and libraries all the time.
And we can support it, in terms of the projector. The friends have a projector, they can borrow the projector.
yeah, because she said it would be a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Ask it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That way it's kind of on them to promote it, right?
I mean, you can put it on
Sounds like, from that, you know?
Yep.
But it's really, let's get it on their Facebook page, website and stuff, that would be, and we'll just sit.
I would be willing to assist her if she needs assistance and be a link.
perfect. Thank you, Dennis.
It's near and dear to my heart.
Oh, well, I thought so. And, you know, this is somebody who's world renowned and she had told me about the link and he's had something like over 200 different publications and whatnot.
What's his
He's
name?
done it. Yes, it's Philip Metzger. Philip with one L. You go. Okay. So I'll tell her that I can work with you to figure out a date.
Yep.
And then
Town hall, she's a resident, Councilor.
yeah, you can put in your monthly thing and if she wants to do whatever, and I'll let her know that Dennis is willing to help. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Dennis. And who knows, we might be wanting to move to outer space. And the third item was just, again, I got notice that there are signs that are sometimes being taken or destroyed and
Street signs still?
no, this actually were signs for the WCA signs. Previously, there've been signs during the election, yep.
Mara Galante said that the castle
Yeah,
sign,
yeah. I don't know that was. It was an accident, I think.
oh, you don't think it, okay.
No. Somebody that lives down there, I think,
Okay,
had an accident.
the sign still there.
We took the sign back until Lou has a chance to hang it up. I'm not sure if those holes have to be fixed.
This Castle Road sign.
No, not the little street one.
Or.
No, Lou had made a big wooden one because people kept missing the street. GPS doesn't work back there, so.
Maybe you could do that for all the signs. Yeah.
What?
What was that?
Say, he's got a lot of spare time.
Exactly. Just wanted to highlight that it is something that, especially street signs I know are illegal, but also taking down other signs are not,
Is there I heard there might be an Airbnb on Berry Road somewhere. I'm lost. But this is a hearsay. But I was told that it seems like some of the rocks being thrown at these solid stop. The bear turned down Berry Road and they might have been staying in an Airbnb because some of the noises stopped at night.
Mm,
And the signs that have been damaged haven't been damaged anymore, they already are. So,
Yeah, one of the signs was at the head of the island again.
that's become, yeah,
Yep, yep. Yeah,
so that's a whole big rabbit hole.
yep,
The whole
yeah.
the whole Airbnb.
Oh, yeah, that's another whole thing.
yeah,
Yep.
With towns and,
yeah, hit my wrong,
yeah,
it's so,
yeah.
All right, moving on to, did either of you two have anything, citizens? Okay. Roads, as we talk about roads, there are two things I want to mention just from things that I've heard, and one is that, an update on East Shore Road, near McNamara Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I stopped there. And looked from up top, it's all grown in, it's very hard to see. There's no way to climb down there, though, unless you're a rappel, which I'm not. So, there were people swimming and stuff, I didn't want to disturb them, so I figured I would wait. And walk down the beach and check on it from that angle. To see exactly what's going on and what to be done. I'm sure everything that's happening.
All right, good. And I will let the individual know who is concerned about.
Plan on doing that now. As I said before. It's steep and it's quite a drop.
Yeah. Yep. All right, and the other question we got was about the potholes on the Upper West Shore Road Causeway. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I was promised that I would see some coal patch down there a month ago and I have not seen it. So I'll be dealing with that personally at some point this week. It could be as late as Saturday though.
Great. Any other updates on roads?
No, so road's complete, and I know. Now it's a matter of doing some legwork to. Get some prices on gravel. Okay, and obviously be, putting our, down to the road improvement.
Yeah.
So I'll be seeking the services of an expert wordsmith types. Second, three, four, five.
People, you have your work cut out for you. Great, great. And that was actually a very positive response on Saturday.
Yeah, once I was, people had questions, I really wish they'd call me a concern because I'm just going on my best judgment.
Mhm.
But it's not my money. And I really hate spending other people's money.
Yeah.
But I ain't got 650,000 cash for it. Tomorrow.
All right, next on our agenda, and I think why we have our guests here today, is discussion of the Greenleaf Cove Association public space. And Jay, did you want to start by telling us what your issue is?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The issue is that after all Dennis did years ago to get like reduced from taxes to the public space, he got that accomplished. The grant and DOT are not public space. They are private, they're taxed as private property by the city, by the town. And we're just concerned about the liability that we have. Should someone from the public go down there and get hurt? We own that, we pay to maintain it and keep it up, et cetera. And, the public land, the land, stops at the end of the dock itself before it gets to the ramp. And the purpose, from what I understand, the purpose of the public place, or the city views, the wildlife habitat, et cetera. And it was your position, the town's position back in 2014, 15, 16, I guess, that the ramp and dock were ancillary structures, and as such, did not make the ramp qualify for open space. Well, the board overruled that And said, yes, it did qualify for open space, unless we got the tax deduction. We just want to protect ourselves against any liability from anybody getting hurt. That's our number one concern. People can come up, use the land, and walk down it, walk, ring out, do whatever they want to do on the land, but really don't know where. Dennis's position is a little bit different, and I'll let him speak to that. And all this came about because the town has on a website that it's a public dock. Well, we don't want people putting moorings in tow and think they could have a place to tie up their digging, because it's not a public dock. You know, we have to maintain it, and we have to pay you to take it in and out each year, et cetera. But we just wanted to get that right. That was all. So let me turn it over to Dennis and see if he has more knowledge on the subject matter, and we will address the particulars.
Yeah, as always, I've got a handout.
Well, I did some copies of the decision. You have that in?
No, I didn't bring a copy of the decision.
Yeah, I brought copies of the decision.
It's more than you need.
Yeah, I won't be reading it right now.
Disappointed if you didn't, Dennis.
Jay, I have a question, because after you came in, I checked the website, and again, I inherited the site, so it's not anything I drafted. But I did not see on the Greenleaf Cove Common Lot page anywhere that says the Ramper Dock is public space.
I think,
Is there
there's a perception that we're dealing with as opposed to necessarily the language that actually specific. One of the items,
It just came from,
well, let me confess. If there's any blame on what's on the website, you're looking at the perpetrator. I wrote those pages for all of our open space lands.
Yep.
5 of them on the website.
yep,
And I was the author of them. I provided that to Gay, and she simply implemented it. And quite frankly, I was probably more in the marketing mode than I was in the worst case assumptions that I wrote it. And so, yeah, believe it or not, it's been almost 10 years now. 10 years next year that we've had that property enrolled in the open space tax program. To my knowledge, there's only 2 parcels on the island that are enrolled in that program. One is a little in-holding at Guanyan Preserve, which was left over from the Heel family. It was where they anchored the dam on the other side of the Thomas family side. They bought a 1 acre piece, and that was the anchor. And it went from descendant to descendant to descendant. Finally, it ended up in Kelt's hands. And Kelt said, why are we paying a buildable house lot, 1 acre in the middle of Guanyan Preserve? And so I went to George, and we submitted an application for open space under the open space tax law. And it sailed right through. There was no quarrels about it. When we attempted to deal with the common lot for the Greenleaf Golf Association, it was being assessed as a shorefront buildable home site, so with a very high valuation. And we thought, well, we can't build them. The land was donated to us by the developer for the purpose of use of the association members. And but the deeds weren't clear about that. And George took the position, and Ruth was supported, that in theory, that could be considered a grandfathered lot, even though it was only 1.1 acres. In fact, it was 1.1 acres by merging 2 half-acre lots that 2 school teacher ladies had planned to build their summer cottages on way back when. They merged them together eventually once they decided they were gonna build those little cottages. And it was purchased probably in the late 80s by the developer still, Pat Logie, and the folks that were gonna do Oak Run 2 subdivision. And once they got title to it, they donated it to the association to use as a common lot. And so we thought it was pretty clear that you couldn't build anything on it, but the deed wasn't clear. So we made a corrected deed to change the language that said no structures or no buildings could be built on it. It was to be kept in essentially a forever wild open space with the exception of the trail, steps, and the dock. And we were unsuccessful with the town way back when. That was actually in 2009. We said, all right, well, we can't do that. We took that to the Board of Appeals and it got rejected, so we tried to find a better way to do it, and we went to look at the open space tax law, which we had some success with. Meeting, right, for sure. And so we applied there, we kind of again rejected it, we took that to the Maine Board of Property Tax Review. That's the only place you can appeal these things. And the board sat through our discussion. And unfortunately, neither we nor the town strictly follow the timing rule for submitting any petition for consideration. And so they rejected it as they didn't have jurisdiction. So we came back 2 years later, we followed all the steps religiously. Went back 2 years later and applied again. And we were also unsuccessful that time, and it was mainly because of a good job that Bill Dale did for the town. He was the town's attorney back then. And he, in his folksy way, said, my wife and I were driving down this road, this main road. We came to Oak Run, and I said to my wife, let's take a walk up there and take a look at Greenleaf Cove. She would look at the sign that was at the end of the road, which said, private road, no through way, 15 miles per hour. She would look at that sign and say, I don't think they want us up there. I think that's kind of restricted to the people that live there, and we're not welcome. And Bill made that presentation to the panel, and he was able to persuade the panel that we should not be granted open space, because in order to get open space, you have to have public benefit. And the public benefit is the public who go there and see it. And so, we lost 3-2, I believe. Still close. We went back the following year, and we said, take that sign down. And it had been there for 20 years. We put up a new sign, and that sign said 15 miles per hour. And then at the bottom, it said Greenleaf Cove with a big arrow pointing out, so people knew that that's where you go to get to Greenleaf Cove. And we took it back, and we were successful on the third attempt. And that afforded us by the rules in the open space tax law, it afforded us a 45% reduction in property value, which is actually a little less than what we would have gotten if the town had just gone and said it's an unbuildable lot, because that's a 50% reduction. It's an unbuildable lot. So I guess the town spent a lot of money to get 5%. But having gone through all those steps, we took one more step the following year. And we said, and going through our experience, we really didn't have a provision that permanently protected this land. In other words, the association in theory could go sell that and make some money if they wanted to do that. Some future board of directors to make that decision and definitely prevent it. So we said, well, let's fix that problem while we're at it. And we developed a declaration of trust, which is very much like an easement, only it's much simpler and smaller. And we filed a declaration of trust that made the Greenleaf Cove Association the trustees, the trust, and holds the title of the land. And in the language of that declaration of trust, it specifies that it is in perpetuity a part of the assets of the residents of Oak Run in the Greenleaf Cove Association. And so that's been in place, and that afforded us another reduction in property tax burden by having that provision. So here we are 10 years later. We've got 10 years almost of experience with the use of the property. We've also got a lot of new members of our association, like Ross and Jay, and a couple of other new members. And so they all want to understand, what's the burden we have in making this available to the public. And I think I should maybe speaking for myself, I'm buying the property, so I kind of know what's going on down here. We've had 10 years of very little trouble. The people have been respectful. They've never left a mess, never left litter. They've always been quiet. They've never disturbed the neighbors. I've never been disturbed. The only thing I get disturbed by is pleasant one. And that is when kids are down there and laughing and stuff. and splashing the water. I need to like to hear that stuff. It's nice and stuff. Anyway, good years, but we have experiences in recent times where there seems to have been developed in some visitors a perception that the float is a public facility, like Ferry Landing is a public facility. And it's really not intended to be that. I mean, we're paying the school tax burden, we're paying the same personal property tax on our ramp and float that any other property owner is paying. There's no break on that. So it's not really harming the open space. Certainly not harm town taxes to property. And so, although we don't really object to people going down and enjoying the view, sticking their feet in the water, maybe taking a swim, if they're ambitious enough. I think we would object. Nobody's ever done it, you know, we wouldn't object to them taking their kayak, you know, paddling around over there, because it's a beautiful paddle. You'd love
I went down there today, so I have some thoughts about it, yes, I finally found it. Yeah, it was impossible to find, but I found it,
it. Yeah.
yeah, and I do love it, I will be back.
Where Jay and I may be differing slightly is, I'm okay with people using the ramp in flow, as long as it's on a non-interference basis.
Mhm.
People have to just recognize that belongs to the Greenleaf Film Association. Our 9 members pay $1,000 a year for the privilege of using that property and the privilege of getting their road maintained. So we're happy to share it, but we just want people to respect
Mhm.
that it belongs to the association. And as long as on a non-interference basis, we enjoy it. And as Jay said, the other lesson learned was safety. And there are some things that we can do all by ourselves, no problem, that have nothing to do with the town. For example, we posted signs along the trail that say it's slippery when wet, and boy, it is.
Yep.
It can be very slippery when it's wet.
Mhm.
And Jay and Ross have been putting down non-strip, fresh non-strips.
Yeah, I saw there were some new ones, yep,
There's more to
thank
be
you.
done with that, for safety purposes. And in thinking about our liability, with my liability insurance, you know, to protect ourselves as an association. We wanted to be sure that we're thoughtful about the inherent danger in the ramp. The ramp, when it's low tide, is a very steep surface, as you can imagine, most ramps are. So for safety purposes, we put a rope across and a hook. So like a kid's fourth playing around up there on the pier, you're less likely to tumble down, right? And you know, it also, in a sense, creates a minimum power visually to let people, remind people that that property down there is used on a non-interference basis. It's primarily for the association. Yeah, we were fearful, what we're fearful of. And we got some hint that something might have been thinking along these lines, was that, hey, if this is a public flow, then I can bring my boat down in the spring and leave it there all summer. And come down and enjoy it. I want to put mooring out there and access the mooring and all. And that's really not the intent. I mean, we've got 9 property owners. There's room on that float for maybe 4 or 5 at the most dinghies. I've seen as many as 3 there.
Yeah.
I think 4 would be,
2 of them are high.
yeah,
So we really can't, we can't allow people to think that that's available for them to bring their boat down and tie it up for the summer and come down and enjoy it whenever they, you know, get here. It's not for that. It's primarily for the associated standards. So we've taken the step of redrafting some of our signage to try to clarify the rules a little bit in a soft touch sort of way. And in the package, you'll find the new sign and the old sign. And you also find what I would like to ask if April could use for the website. The language is slightly changed. we took out a couple of things. Like, we said, you walk down a well-maintained trail, well. Well-maintained for me, and well-maintained for somebody who trips on a root or a stone. We thought from a liability standpoint, let's not advertise it as well-maintained, it is well-maintained. We also added in, on the website, a reminder that it is slippery when wet. So that's right up front. People are cautious. And we added in that the, ramp and float are primarily for the Greenleaf Cove Association members. And however, you welcome using like non-interference basis.
So,
It's all in there
yeah,
with language and I'll send, if you guys take a look at it and give it a thumbs up, I'll send them electronically people in Word format, so she can.
yeah. I was listening to you, so I wasn't looking at this at all, but I do want to make a couple comments. And yes, it is slippery when wet. And yes, I appreciate the strips down there. But it felt like the hardest part was getting down to the dock. The dock to me was not at all a liability issue. That was the safe part. It was getting down to it that to me was the problem. So if you're talking about being concerned about liability, I would say it's the whole, all those great big rocks are more of a liability than the dock itself. But I did see your sign. And I feel like you're sort of you, especially Dennis, have already addressed this when you said that the dock should, has been okay for other people. And I liked your comment here that said that it's one of the signs that you had posted. And I don't know how you plan to change it, but it says right here, the ramp and float.
That's,
this is the new. Yeah, well, I'm gonna read you the one that's there now. The ramp and float are for transitory use only. That tells me pretty clearly that it is not available for somebody to put their dock or their boat there forever. You've covered it. Keep the front of the float clear for arriving boats to land and tie up for unloading and offloading on them. It feels like you've made it clear that yes, you can go here. But that you can't, it's not something that you can use all the time. The other thing I wanted to say was this is an open space and I came down and there was absolutely no place on either side unless you're really, really strong. And again, there would be liability issues, I think there is trying to get a kayak or something off to the side. The easiest thing to do would be to go right down the ramp, off to the float, put my kayak in. And that, I feel, was sort of the intent of this when it was made an open space, that somebody could come down there, get to the end of the water and do what they needed to do, go out kayak and go see the seals. Wait a minute, I read, you said it, if I'm in a kayak, the seals would disappear. Because you have these wonderful signs there. And it's like you bring everybody down there and then you get to the ramp and then you say, oh, but you can't go, you can't get to the water. You can't get to the water because on either side, there's ledge. There's probably 3 feet of ledge on either side. I took a picture of one side where there's a chair and then you have a bunch of wood that I don't know if it's there permanently or not, but it would be really hard for me to get down to the water's edge from either side. The only place I could really get to the water is going down the ramp and the float. And so I do have a kayak and a boat. But so I'm not sure that I would change this.
Here's the problem that I've got,
Mhm.
and it's a legal, one, and it goes again back to the liability. If we invite the people down on the ramp and float, it's private and not part of the open space criteria, then they become an invitee and we're liable should anything happen. If we post it as that it's private property, don't need to say, don't trespass or whatever, just say private property or Greenleaf Codes Homeowners Association. Then if they go down there, they're not an invitee, they get hurt, it's on them, it's not on us. And I don't care if somebody goes down there, I don't want to invite them to say, come.
Yeah.
So you could put a sign at the end of just at the very end, because you can't put a sign that says private property anywhere else.
It just say,
Yep.
private property, Riverville Association, nothing else, just
Yeah.
that. Because that's a fact, I mean, that's not, somebody's opinion or anything, that's a fact, that it's private property at that point. And so, that's all we wanted to do to prevent some Wall Street attorney from coming in and suing us over somebody getting hurt off the ramp or something. That's the whole issue.
And I'd want to do some more research on what the legality of that is, and we've got your packets to read, but I also, Evan Gudkowski is here, because this issue came up last week while he was in, and Evan, I think, had some comments about the paying the taxes and whatnot, and I have no idea. But Evan, are you there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
All right. Evan,
Can you hear me?
yes, I don't
There we
know. Can you guys hear him?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yep. Well, let's see. How do I organize my thoughts here? Firstly, obviously I don't know the full history of the whole thing. But I just wanted to remind everybody that the town isn't the enforcement mechanism for any of this. I know that you guys are primarily concerned with liability. The tax classification has only an enforcement on the reduction, has no enforcement on what's going on there. And I would say, one thing that I would kind of barter on what has been said so far is reading the Declaration of Trust when it says, second paragraph, may include the general public as a scenic and natural area and water access site. I think if you guys really want to cover your bases, you're going to want to, as an association, fix your declaration of trust to explicitly define what you mean by improvements, because I see that as an open liability in your own declaration of trust. That being said, town has nothing to do with that. At the end of the day, beyond liability, if it becomes an issue, and the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office is what deals with this. So the town has no business in being in most of this, in my opinion. But that's what I see as a problem, is that no matter what, I don't see that the declaration of trust is clear at all of what is public and what is private. At least the declaration that was filed on 2016. I haven't done a deep dive on all of it, but I think if the association wants to cover their bases, they may want to make an explicit change to where things end.
so it says access to water, but it's like, because I was thinking as I was down there, if you didn't want them using the dock.
Well, I'll
there's
tell
a
you, I
way-
don't know what a water access site is, but
Yeah.
I would say,
Let's say shoreline.
I think he said water access.
Sure. I think it's shoreline.
Says the word.
You can access the shoreline.
Okay.
So.
either way, whatever it says has no business of the towns at the end of the day, because whether or not you guys eventually wanted to take action on somebody that's going down your dock has nothing to do with the town. It's a sheriff's office problem. And that's what I wanted to speak to, is just it's irrelevant, because I got a call on this and I was in between other things, but the open space classification is irrelevant to enforcing any, usage, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that wasn't this is Jay Spector, that wasn't, where the town gets involved is when they put it on their website.
Mhm.
And the wording on the website is that, the lines of the public, currently it's the only public water access on the Sheepscot River. And that's what the town says, the only public water access on the Sheepscot.
But that was
River.
what you presented to us. That's what Dennis wrote. It's not the town wrote
The
it.
association did, right, that didn't show that.
Well,
So what we're asking
that's
for,
the association.
is we're just asking to clarify that, real simple, that there's shoreline access, a change to shoreline access from water access. Is the only shoreline access on the Sheepscot River on that side of the island. And leave it at that.
But is it obvious when you go down there
What?
that access to the
No, you
shoreline?
cannot get to. this.
Like,
Well, you can say that, John, but my kids play on there.
Yeah.
And my wife and myself. You can get to the shoreline all around there if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a trek to get to the shoreline going further to it to the,
It'd be hard to take a kayak.
what would that be, the north, and it's not designed.
We had,
Be allowed. It's not designed.
we had a neighbor, some of you may remember Carol Way.
Mhm.
She was actually elderly, but she was an avid kayaker.
Mhm.
And she could never get in the kayak at the dock. So she always scrambled down the rocks to the beach. And set the kayak on the, just halfway into the water and climbed in and then scooted herself. That was the only way she could safely get into the kayak.
Now, you've got such potential on either side. It could be a really nice beach that could be accessible to people without touching your dock. But right now, it's on the left-hand side, when you come down, there are a bunch of big logs and I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna go scrambling all over them. I would if I owned the property, I intend to,
Other places you wouldn't wanna walk, because it's outside of your, no, doesn't mean it, that's what it's designated. And water access and shoreline access are two very different. things. They can talk
Well,
about
yep.
access to get into the water,
yep,
that's water access.
Yep.
Shoreline access means I can even walk the side of the land and look at the cove and enjoy my time on this public piece of land, looking at the water. And if you choose to scramble, and it's within your ability to scramble over a rock and launch a kayak, we're good with it. Right ahead, help yourself. Unless you're all the way back up when you carry your kayak.
So if someone came into the town office, presuming we changed the website copy. And they said, am I allowed to put my kayak in on that random dock? And would the staff say, you can, but they won't give you permission, or what would be? What would be a staff for us?
I think it's say. The association wouldn't restrict you from doing that, but you're doing it at your own risk.
Yeah, okay.
they wouldn't encourage you, but you
Wouldn't
can.
encourage you, wouldn't.
We're not to discourage you, we're not convince you either, we're not looking at it. It's not, I'm just standing out here with the whistle on, the hat on, stopping people from going down there, that's not.
And I think that's been one of the concerns for the town a year or so ago, and I think Dennis, you came to that meeting as well. It was when somebody specifically asked, because they had been told or they felt like they weren't allowed to go down there. And I've been wanting to go down there just because I heard about the seals, not that I wanted to get to the water or whatever else. I wanted to see the seals and but the resident was concerned because there was no signage. And I did have trouble finding the signage.
We had the signage after that.
Yeah, and I read the directions on there, and it's like when you get around that circle, there's a 98, there's a 92 or whatever else, there's nowhere. They're all private properties. And I have to start to go down your property before I finally see the sign. So if, as you're revising things, I think making it clear where you really can go.
There's a sign on the post, isn't
Yeah.
there?
There's a sign where?
On the cul-de-sac, it says,
Dennis, John Stewart said.
Yeah, I took some pictures. You can barely see it, but in the first sign I see is a big sign that says Dunbar. And a little tiny sign,
That's the one.
that's the one, and I had to be walking around to find it, but there are like 5 different properties. There's no road. There are properties. And there's no property that says this is the way to get to the cove. So I think maybe straightening that out as well, so that that's one of the complaints that residents have. It is an open space, and not being able to know where it is. Nobody can find it until you finally get down Dennis's driveway a little ways.
Well, it's not actually, that's part of it.
But it says 98.
Yeah,
And-
it's a guiding to sure, just say.
Yeah.
It's lives down.
Find out it's funny, you know.
Sign early on, and that was a request that we had a year ago. It was just,
We added green signs. We
Yeah.
argued about whether they're big enough, but that's why we added them. Was that feedback that you got?
yeah,
And I was gonna also say for Evan, that in the Declaration of Trust, he mentioned that the word may was in there. And we made that very intentional because a future board might say, well, we don't want public access. We're willing to forego that part of the benefit on the property tax law. So we wanted to make sure that Lord's name was in there, so that they could change their mind in the future if they chose.
What about this is sort of cut the baby in the hand? What about if we rewrite what's on the webpage?
I think that's it.
We did.
I get it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm,
Do you have any objections to that?
well, I have the select board.
None of us have read it.
Okay.
We just got it, so no.
Take a look at it, get back to us and let's know if you have any objections to it.
Yep.
And then I think we can all be on the same page. I think the intent is there that, you know, this, out. We just don't want people talking about, you know, their votes there or think it's about.
Mhm.
It can't be treated like a fairyland.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
Public
clear,
orange
yeah.
field to
yeah.
the south right
Yeah.
there and all of that. That's what that is intended for as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Like I say, in 10 years, we've had virtually no problems.
Yes.
Until recently, another one, we had one of our members, our dues paying member. Was sitting on the dock with their dog and somebody came by with their dogs and said, you need to keep your dog. Here she is on her property.
Hmm,
Yep,
yeah.
yeah.
What about the two? It's a long one.
Sure, dogs on leashes or not is always an issue. I don't care where you go. Yeah,
I know feathers get ruffled when I hear that, so I don't look at phone.
because you're in charge.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think before we wrap up to the liability side of things, it's worth pointing out that the liability on private property posted or unposted is very different than the liability on land that is in an open space program. I think Dennis has some information to that as well, but you're very protected in today's laws when you have an open public space like that the liability isn't yours.
Mhm.
But the fact that we're taxed as a private ramp and flow, no deduction for 10 years on that specific private property speaks to this private property. And so it did happen, easy or not, to get down there. It's a different liability than say if they slip on the ramp, you know, on the way down and it says slippery but wet. And it's
Yep.
So that's the concern about the law. It's really pointing out that difference. So
So like Jay said, the key is you don't want people to think they're invited.
Mhm.
They're welcome. But they're not invited.
April and then John, April.
I just wanted to point out to Dennis on the public lands map, is it public health? The one that's on the back of the town report. It says no public access, it's Green Cove, I think it says. I don't know, town report in my hands right now.
what later on some of those spots.
Yeah, that was meant to be all the easement properties. Have properties that have easements, and there are
Yeah,
several of them. There's Fowles Point right down the road here and the point next to Heel Cove, I forget the name of it at the moment. So there are several easement properties,
mhm,
and easement properties are not officially open to the public.
yeah,
They're not prevented, you're not prevented from going there.
Mm.
But unlike the preserves,
mhm,
which are intended to be used by the public, the trails were put in to facilitate that. This open space on the Greeley Cove Association didn't really fit in either category,
mm,
but it was closer to an easement than it was a public preserve.
hmm,
So that's why it was shaded that way.
yeah. Is no public access the right language to have next to easement? Should it just be?
For most of those properties, yes.
All the other ones, yes.
For all the other ones, yeah.
Right.
Well, to me, that sounds like it's forbidden. I would say, oh, I can't go there now, but it sounds like it's more like,
They only had two color codes to use.
You're never green.
Stripes.
fringing, right? So me and my family, we only own a couple acres, you know, and we like to get out near the shore, we like to enjoy Westport Island, we like to get out and
Long
run
down
out.
and see each color.
Yeah,
Stop by the house.
but most people aren't gonna hear this meeting. They're not-
What is open for public?
I just think we should do a better job of signage and labeling the maps so that people feel well.
Signage is gonna be an issue because there is no public place to put signs, it's all private property. So I mean, signage, and we're limited to the amount of signs that we can put up to 200 square inches. And so we're not gonna put up more than 200 square inches
It's an HOA rule.
for signs.
Hmm.
So,
Is there a sign that you could put, like, when you're going around that circle where it says 98, somewhere right around there, without having to look further, that you could put up a sign that said,
That circle actually belongs to Dennis and I.
so could the two of you work something out so that, because actually, Jim and I, last week when we were out doing assessing, he was doing the assessing, I was following. We looked for, because I said, oh, I want to know where this is, and this was before the issue came up, because I've been wanting to go down there, and we couldn't find, the two of us together couldn't find it, but we didn't get out and walk. And it wasn't until I literally had to get out and walk to find this. And I'd heard about it for several years and I still didn't know where it was. And it was today, it was like, darn it, I'm gonna figure this out.
How far were you with the first sign that you found?
I had parked the car, I think right across from your house.
Yeah.
And then I walked back toward 98 because I figured if nothing else, it's Dennis's and all. I think I'm going in the right direction because you always told me it was near you. And I started heading down that way. And then the first little sign I saw was where your name. And then I had to go a little bit further, and then in the trees, hidden in the trees, I finally saw a black sign that
Just
said
code.
code, but you can barely see it.
So.
Yep,
You could
yep,
do that.
and the leaves were out. And I knocked.
Since 1986.
I would've missed it,
Yeah.
I painted it once again to get the black to shine up a little bit, but it's such a historic sign, I don't wanna mess with it.
I think the sign is fine, but maybe adding some more so that people do know that it is
We'll have a Don Curry sign.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, but yeah, if you guys would at least think about that, about how to make it so that people can go down and at least get to the shore, and I could see Ivan loving, he would scramble down it without any problem. But if you guys would just put a rope across there, I don't even know if you have to put no trespassing wherever you need a rope.
No, you don't wanna say no trespassing.
Yep, just
We
put a
just
rope
wanna let
there.
you know it's private property,
Yep.
that's all.
Yep.
Just,
But
bring me
The rope would be a stop for me, if I,
There when you went to that?
no, not that I know of.
There's a chain up somewhere.
I didn't look, I was
Yeah.
more looking around and whatnot.
Now, right at the end of the pier where the ramp starts, we put a chain up.
Mhm.
And we plan on putting, what was the determination for that, just by the property on the chain.
We just put the chain up and that.
The chain's up, the problem is that it keeps, people go down, they take it down, and they leave it, that's what they do. So I think something that makes it a little more, hey, put this back up because it's important,
Mhm.
no matter what it says would be good. So the chain's new, week old. And the signage.
If you just said that it was the Greenleaf Cove Association feels less,
Forbidden.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, but you're also still telling me that I really shouldn't go beyond here.
Yeah, right.
And if I've got my kayak, I'm probably gonna sort of sneak it through anyway.
Yeah, it's on. And that's what I'm
Yeah, yep, that sounds,
saying.
we will look at all the information you
Okay.
gave us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any suggested corrections, let us know. Like I said, I'll get the digital version over to people once you guys have got a chance to look at it.
Yep, perfect.
Very good.
Oh, and I'm sorry, but John had a comment.
So, yeah, just from a hand now, the former insurance defense attorney, many years. Based upon the conversation I've heard here tonight, if anything did, God forbid, if anything did happen on top, you'd have three defendants, you'd have an association, you'd have a town, you'd have Hill, based on what you're saying, so my only suggestion would be to make sure you include your insurance carriers, in this conversation and get in here, very clear black and white language, the assignment of liabilities, for each of these. And I know, the town is obviously, during a stand to kind of make all this work, but, you're hanging out there a little bit too, based on some say so. But, any representation you make in writing, and especially, advertise, this is a public resource. Because, that's, even though you may couch the language, you're fudging a little bit. You're inviting people there and they're gonna be uncomfortable.
Good thoughts. All right. Any other comments or thoughts? No, we will get back to you.
So thank you.
It's a lot to read and we appreciate you having it because,
A lot of information.
yeah. I had a wonderful time when I went down there today. It was absolutely gorgeous. It's like, no, I did not. I was disappointed. I'll be back.
I saw you put right in the top of that stairway.
I was there probably around noon, so the tide was coming in.
Low tide you see.
Low tide,
That's what the
okay,
seals are. Yeah.
I'll be back.
They move over to the little island to the left,
Yeah,
a little peninsula to the left, when the tide comes.
yeah, I was trying to figure out where I was when, you know, when I go on my boat. I was.
See, Baker Road.
Yeah. Yes.
Hatch's house.
Yes.
Blue house, dog house down.
Yes, your signage was helpful because we talked about the Lily property. On one of the signs, and I was like, okay, now I know where I am.
If you're in it, paddling down that tidal inlet, which is behind where the dam used to be, you can see the grinding stone sitting up on the right, and you can go down that inlet. And at the very end, when you get to Baker's Road, if it's been a heavy rain like we've had recently, you find a very attractive waterfall cascade coming down. Wow.
I just have to get a kayak.
You belong to Baker, right? Right here, right now.
I remember that. Thank you very much.
Baker, thank you.
Yes.
We'll leave it to it.
Okay, next, on our list is correspondence. Anybody have any stuff from? No, okay.
Just denote the fact that we will have, the chief deputy, in our workshop next week
Next Monday, yep.
to talk about the Bakersville property line.
Give me a time, okay? For,
Check your message, and yes,
yeah,
I'm around this one.
perfect, thank you.
And a company.
Well, you two set things up, just let me know on time, these. Or practically.
All right, yes, Rand Maker will be here on, deputy sheriff, right?
Chief deputy.
Chief deputy.
And that's the workshop next,
Monday.
July 1st at
Yes.
6.
That's right.
Chief deputy sheriff. Need to see the hierarchy here. All right, admin items, one item we received today is a resignation from Joanna Jacobs from the, planning board, and so I'd like to move that we accept her resignation. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right.
Just on that note, Joanna has also been a public representative to the Lincoln County Regional Planning Commission.
That's right.
And so set that up a couple of years ago. We have someone from the planning board to be represented because they're the ones who most have a need to talk and be involved. So that's also something that Joanna was acting for as well.
And what was the name of that?
It's the public representative. So it's one of the positions that we need to fill next week.
Yeah, I had actually emailed them for clarity because there's a few different, there's several positions for us on that board, and I was trying to get straight, if you want to select board, there's a-
Most likely once a public.
I think there's more than that. And
You're the public, I think.
we're telling you, you can do this. But then I remember that for it, but she emailed me back, I think we may have more than 2 available slots on there, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I'll look into it if I
How
can.
are you emailing with Emily?
I just emailed the, I think so, the,
Yeah, Emily's the new, First Mary Ellen, yeah.
so, just so we have clarity going into it.
Okay.
And again,
Alternate, that's what we just,
Yes, that's what I was this year.
right, so there's a select board and then a select board alternate, and then a public.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
I would like to, I guess, be appointed to that position. To continue my role on the regional planning commission. I'm actually now the secretary of the executive board.
And And Joanna resigning from that too, in her letter?
She didn't say it in the
She
letter.
didn't say.
She and I
Well, I
communicated
think
about that.
explains. Do you have information she doesn't want to do it again? Like,
She hasn't been able to yet.
what?
She has not been able to.
I can ask her about it. Since she,
It'll be up to you who you reappoint.
yep. Okay. Just write myself a note here to communicate. All right, next on our admin items is the Squire Tarbox and liquor license and which we need to sign if we agree to it pretty quickly so that she can get it approved. We're actually gonna host a WCA event on Saturday here. So it looks like she filled it out completely from what we looked at earlier.
Yeah, to be sure.
Like to make a motion that we approve her request for a liquor license. Do I have a second?
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
It's actually a temporary extension, right?
that's right.
Yeah,
Current
it's
license,
yeah, it's what it says, right, yeah.
temporary extension.
With all that's, you're identifying premises. So
Right.
that's why there's a map attached. And that's why you can say, well, this is or isn't.
Can you, yes, right.
Because I think there were issues earlier or in the past with them, depending where they were serving alcohol, because they were outside versus inside. We had a conversation about this a while back.
Well, that could be, because again, if it's not. It's part of the licensed premises, they're supposed to alcohol.
Yeah, and I think it was outside it where they had to all of a sudden get some changes in there. Next on our agenda for admin items is the right landing roof. Estimates that we finally got and Jeff will talk about that. Jeff.
Then we have. Estimate from 3 different roofing companies. ABL Roofing, AJR Roofing, and Ted Weber Jr. Roofing. They were given a standard specification, and they all bid to that. The common features that they're all proposing shingles, which are at a minimum of a 15-year warranty. That's the 100%. And then they have the lifetime warranty. Usually they're 40%, but one person did act propose a 50% or 50-year warranty. The labor is mostly 10-year workmanship warranty. Section in one variation, one ABL said that they would give a 20-year workmanship warranty for a higher quality shingle. Other features that were notable, they're mostly not covering the chimney, the flashing of the chimney, but that'll be an extra cost. Though the estimates do include ridge trim, which we don't currently have. And
Did they include that because they wanted us to have it, or they just naturally include it? Did they talk about their?
so I have to talk with the estimator from ABL Roofing and sort of talk about something probably not necessary. So he didn't include his actually, but it was in the other two. It wasn't in what Richard asked for. But it may be because it's a very simple roof, and I actually did that roofing on my house that I had 30 years ago. It was a ranch shell and stuff. Yeah, it's easy to do. So
It helps.
instead of
Moisture.
it gets the circulation,
Yep.
so you
Yep.
get away moisture. So there's variation in terms of the estimates. So the high end was ABL Roofing, which at their kind of medium quality shingles was $11,500. AJR Roofing from Camden for similar quality of shingles was $10,000. And Ted Weber, roofing for a similar quality was $8,580. So that was the low bid. What was different that, again, with all these, if they find roof board, roof decking that's bad, that's gonna be an extra. We'll charge the silver as well as materials for that. And again, that's understandable. So one factor that I thought was something we should consider is trying to get the manufacturer's warranty increase on the shingles. And this is the thinking, these all standard have a warranty up to 110 miles an hour winds. So that they should be good, following the nailing instructions, for 110 miles per hour. But if you go up to 8 nails per shingle, at least with the certainty shingles, your warranty can go up to 130 miles per hour. And given the amount of wind we could expect down the road, and certainly in that open area there around Wright Huntinghouse, I think that would be a good thing if it doesn't cost much money. And with with Ted Weber, the 8 nails per shingle is standard how he does business. Whereas the 6 nails per shingle for AJR. Any other any questions about the bids, the proposals?
Ted Weber is local, Wisconsin,
Wisconsin.
and where was, ABL?
ABL is at 2 locations, one's in Brunswick, I think the other one's Bergen.
Well, I think because we allocated 10,000 for this job. And we know it's probably gonna be a little bit more than our lowest bid here. Because we don't know what they're gonna turn up once they rip off the shingles, so we have to anticipate that it might.
And given that we did have
Cost.
some lake around the chicken, it's
Yeah.
possible that
Yeah.
that roof board is damaging and
Right, so.
Well, I like Ted Weber, which actually is the lowest price, but he uses 8 nails per shingle. Which brings up, as you said, the protection for wind, or make it more wind resistant. So I like his estimate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too.
Well,
Yeah.
so I guess it's a feeling that's the, and above the 2, again, the higher quality. We move up to additional 10 years in the warranty if we go up to next level up. And that's a proposal of $9,165.
We're not gonna do here, so. It's only 10 years. You know, it's like 40 years from now. Years is a long time from now. To save money. $900 that we're probably gonna have to spend anyway.
Who's around 45 years from now to remind him that the roof is.
Last 40 years, and if you look at the manufacturer's warranty, they prorated warranties. So at year 38, you're getting
Nothing.
$1.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really give you much.
Like, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a 15-year, 100% replacement warranty. Warranty for both of them, actually.
I told Ted, whatever Ted says, just use the guy around.
yeah. Well, I'm liking his 8,500, 8,580, with 40 years, because by the time you get to 40 years, who's running the town, who will know to say, wait a minute, this is not doing well.
They
but-
should have been here 2 years.
Over here.
Okay, but how much money would you get it?
I'm responsible, sir. You give me the go.
So I move that we accept Ted Weber's proposal for $8,280.
I second it. All in favor?
All right.
The only thing I'll say, I mean, he says it here and he mentions it, any extra charges, blah, 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 notice will be given upon any discovery. I just wanna make sure that if he finds something,
Let's
that he lets us know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think everybody said that.
I think you want to call, have what would be roof boards around the chimneys.
Mhm.
It's pretty much going down to the chimney flag for you anyway.
Yeah,
And I think we want to include that he does the flashing.
Yeah, he
Does he?
get a basin
Yeah,
Yeah,
with,
Yeah.
but this way we keep the responsibility in his hands.
yeah. what
Yes,
do you do?
yes, because they have to negotiate one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, you can do it in less than a day. I think that was the one I saw for half a day or something, so.
oh, right now.
Yeah, yeah, very simple roof. Yeah, yeah. Listed all that out, yeah.
Well, what I, I'll get started to get back to him, but then I'll have, who should be the point of contact going forward?
Make it me right now until we figure this out next week.
Okay,
Yeah. Any other admin items, people? You too? Nothing? All right, other legal business, the only thing I have down here is just an update on next steps for Greenleaf Road issue, and, obviously, there was a conversation Saturday about the Greenleaf Road issue. My fear is that, or my concern is that because the one ordinance didn't pass, that he may assume that he's off the hook. And, you know, the reason we went and started having conversations with him is because of the well issue and the aquifer behind it. In fact, Jim and I were just looking today at the aquifer map. And actually, part of that aquifer map shows that it's actually on his property.
Mhm.
So let me read.
yeah, then.
Yeah, yeah. So, I haven't contacted him since, we last spoke, since he last sent pictures, but, I
His
feel like the
deadline
next,
is July 1.
yep, deadline is July 1st, and no, he doesn't have to get rid of all the pallets, and he already knew that. Last week, he had finally gotten rid of one of the vehicles that, there were two vehicles he was gonna get rid of. I've asked him several times about really the area that's closest to the neighbor's property, and that's where he was gonna put the three, sheds. And every time I've asked him, he said that he'll get those built when he, gets everything moved. There is progress, definitely progress being made if you go down there.
How close is he to meeting what he specified he's going to do? That's the consent agreement.
Right, but that was so, vague, you remember that?
I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah,
And see
yeah,
how we worded it,
I-
but
yeah, yeah.
Well, that's kind of the
Yeah.
key thing here is, so since I would say Friday would be
The deadline,
would be the
Yeah.
take inspection.
yep,
And, has he complied with the consent agreement?
because I know the next door neighbor is interested in getting his well tested and doesn't want to get it tested until he feels like everything's done there.
one of the things that I think might be helpful, and I don't know if Gary would be going to do this, but one of the things he said at the meeting was that he never got very clear direction about what to get rid of. I guess my concern is, wait, he said that none of his equipment there has fluids in it, right? I believe, and I could be not remembering correctly, but I spoke to Gary about that, and I don't think Gary said he looked in the tanks but he looked underneath on the ground or something. So we don't know definitively if that stuff all laying there, and I've never been to his property, so I don't know the degree to how bad it is.
Well,
But I think if he's not, I think that would be priority over,
well, it's
Anything
focused on the safety. you know,
right,
And certainly the petroleum products
Yeah.
leaching there is, so that was the centerpiece of the
Yep.
discussions.
Yep.
Was that concern. And then secondarily, there was just the amount of junk and rubbish there. He made a point, that I never told him what he could have. And I did not tell him what he could have, because that's not that somebody can't have.
right.
And I didn't say anything at the meeting, but that's maybe still a point. It's our job to tell what you can have. You can do what you want, except if it infringes on somebody else, and then we said, no, you can't do that.
Yep, and that's basically what you told him.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
kept going back to the issues with the next door property, and generally he would come back with, well, the property lines aren't clear anymore because somebody moved or broke the property, you know, the markers and so he doesn't know exactly where his property ends and the others starts. So, but I feel like if he just took any machinery, engines, whatever else, and moved them to the other side of his driveway, would at least be a way.
It'd still be on the property. There should not have all those that equipment in the driveway. Unless it's secured in such a way that it cannot leach into there, so it's on a concrete pad. You know, maybe it could store that.
I mean, even if it's, doesn't it, is it possible when a piece of equipment sits on the ground? I mean, you know how an engine gets all stuck on the outside of it and everything, does that reach into the dirt, or is it mostly just liquid? Because he could just empty all the tanks.
We mostly concerned with antifreeze.
He says they don't use antifreeze.
Well, if they're all air cooled engines, that's fine.
It's the other one tractor type stuff.
Engine oil and, then the gas clean could be in the tank, it could not be in the tank.
Yeah, he had three, at one point, he had 3 junk cars, actually, no, there were 4.
I know he got rid of one and he was in the process of getting rid of the second,
Because by the junkyard, having 3, could put you in the category.
right?
Yeah, state law clear on that.
Yeah.
2 hours.
So we have clarity about what he can't have,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's.
Yep.
That's something.
Did you say a junkyard is 3 junk vehicles?
It's actually not a graveyard. So statute there's a junkyard section and there's a non-graveyard section, and we can reference both of these property.
So
It's usually just referred to as junkyard.
that 3 or more junk vehicles.
Unregistered.
Unregistered.
You know what I'm thinking, right?
I won't go by your house.
Unregistered. So,
I am gonna use this as ammunition with my husband to go
yeah, not the
Or the graveyard,
or registered with, or the other.
yeah.
So,
It's equipment.
yeah, no, but it is registered.
Yeah, and he uses it for different purposes.
I'm sure he's.
I mean, he admitted he has 17 lawnmowers. And none of them that I could see would ever be used, because they, at least the regular lawn ride ones, the regular push ones, because they were.
Well, we need to
rusted
have,
up.
we need to have a plan
Yep,
for
yep,
how we're gonna do this.
Yep.
To,
I will contact him again this week and let him know that and maybe I'll give him another copy of, the statute that we're using, since we don't have an ordinance now that, that's
gonna
we
help
would have
us.
been using, but that's what we were using originally, and, I will talk to him again, but I just wanted to, bring it up with the 3 of us to, just talk again about next steps, because, you know, it's the end, but I know that he feels like.
Well, I think unfortunately, you have to ramp up pressure now.
Yep, yeah,
You
now,
gotta,
yep,
you gotta go to the next
yep,
level of.
Well, that accepts if you have that, let's see, he does not complete the incinerator, now assess the penalty.
No,
yep, yep,
and
and we haven't talked about that at all.
I mean, I know.
All right, so I will talk to him this week, and, I think what I'm gonna do is, email him versus, going to his house. But I do want to take some pictures again, and, then I'll see where we are, and then we can, talk next week and figure out where to go, depending on the days. Where is that book Friday? I'll keep that in mind.
Well, actually, maybe just before we adjourn, I just want, again, John, again, it's so fantastic that you prepared those statements explaining the ordinances,
Mhm.
and again, you're standing up, giving some clarity about it. That was great.
No, rather than the bunker and I enjoy it.
Absolutely.
But, so, but, and the conversation was good, a good conversation.
Would it be Julie? Yeah.
You know, well, some, in your room. That, so we can do it. think about it for us.
Yep.
Before, because I think I've shared with you all, you know, I'm very enthusiastic about that. Sometimes water, like I can once a year, or Dennis.
And,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that should come in the next rumor. Yeah, I think we all want that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very so, very genuine, stuff, so. You know, very natural, right, and it was expressed at one of our meetings. There are some who, don't believe that there should be a requirement of potable water, drinking water. When somebody goes out, and, you know, that's just really strange. But, you know, maybe that's the way.
That's not in the current building code.
Well, yes, what happens, you know, we've got state
Yeah.
standards
State
that are being set, like a subdivision ordinance, like LD 2003. And when those things come through, we have to adopt as town ordinance. But our building hasn't been updated consistent with those. So for example, subdivision, there's not a requirement for potable water, there's also an opportunity for hydraulic system and required water study, which we propose right in Delta 2003. Shot it out, so it's already in the subdivision. Yeah, cost, but it's there.
Yeah.
And we should really be up in our building standards
Yeah.
to modern standards, which is reflected in subdivision ordinance.
Yeah.
And, you know, the potable water thing, until the 2003, that's not something we need to put in there. It was statutorily mandated by LD 2030. And yet, if you build a house outside of that, if you build a house outside of this, which is, you know, incredible.
Yeah.
So maybe that's, you know, and some will argue, well, we're taking away my rights. Well, you know, there's a health and safety.
Yeah, there are some rights, we can't have, it's not unlimited. So,
I move we adjourn.
yes, I second that, all in favor.
Congratulations, guys. Nobody stood up and said thank you, and I forgot to. So, apologies for that. Thank you.
Thanks for being there. Thanks for being there to support.
Guys, 8:22.
Jim, you're the man. Nice job. Nice job. The signs were crossed. Well, they, and, that's what it's.